Record. So there we are, we're live. It is Thursday the 16th of August. Thursday night for us, Friday morning for the Australians, but it's team training call evening. And I know I repeat myself every single week, but we bring you the best of the best of the best of the best. And since we started doing this properly, or since I started doing this properly and got an itinerary together, I guess, and started reaching out to leaders in DC, reaching out to people in our group, reaching out to leaders in other companies, in other countries, and reaching out to the corporate team. We've had some fantastic trainings. We really have, and it's, you know, I'm honoured to be able to kind of introduce everyone that we've had on board. And before I press record, like a few minutes ago, like as I said, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit now, but I got to hear this guy a few months ago now, and he'd done a training call for the Australian team. And I was blown away in so many ways. I was blown away by how fun he made the training, and I was blown away by how simplistic he made it. And I've spoken to him, you know, at length since we first connected, and I spoke to him this week, and he asked me what could he do training on, and he's gonna give you a fantastic training tonight, that's for sure. But one thing that I did want him to mention was the point system that he uses in his training and what he's used in other companies. And there's a few of us on this call tonight that actually do use that. And I know myself firsthand that when I started using that point system, I was blown away by how much you can actually get done just by writing it down and putting a number next to it. And one thing that we're all guilty of, some of us still more than others, is the whole following up process. And I remember when I do it, I write the date and I write who I've spoken to and what platform and what number I've given them. And when you flick back and you see that person, right, I've given them a 1, and you know the next day, right, they've got a 2 and a 3, and then 3 or 4 days later they've got a 4. You know, some of you this won't mean anything at the moment, but tonight you're in for a treat. You really are in for a treat. And it's 6 o'clock in the morning where he is right now. So, you know, respect to you first and foremost. Number 1 for getting up, and number 2 for looking like it's the evening time. I mean, if I looked as good as you did at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll be extremely happy. So guys, hope you've got like pens and paper at the ready, or if you take notes on your phone, get them ready, because this guy is fantastic. You know, he really is fantastic. And I think I'm right. I'm hoping I'm right that he's coming over to the UK fairly soon, but I'm sure he'll give details on that if he is or if he isn't. But he's great. Connect with him on all sorts of social media platforms. But I'm not going to take any much more of his time. James, can you hear me first and foremost?
I sure can, Paul. I sure can. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you loud and clear, my friend.
Fantastic. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, I tell you that. And, you know, when you say it's 6 a.m., I kind of had to remind myself because the body clock woke up at 5 today. So I feel like I've been awake the whole day. So I'm actually all ready to go, man, which is great. But I do really appreciate what you mentioned. I mean, it's been a phenomenal industry to be a part of. And I'm going to walk you through my story in a moment. And I'm going to wake up really with you today, guys. So if there's any questions as we go, just save them for the end. I'm very happy to do a Q&A at the end. But thanks again for taking the time to have a listen to us. And let's start off with a little bit of my story, and we'll run into the training topic as well. So for those of you that haven't met me, James Yates here. I've started my career in the industry about 17 years ago. Now, I was a young guy, literally final day of high school. I was introduced to the industry by my best friend's father, and he brought a lot of the school kids, if you'd like, from that year all the way through to his house in Palm Beach. And I know there's quite a few of you on this call in the UK, so that's where Home and Away's filmed, right? So he literally lived like a kilometre from where they film it. And we would go over and sit in this room, and this opportunity was presented. You know, you could have all this freedom and all this time, and you could do whatever you'd like. And I sat in this room thinking, that sounds pretty good, because when I was a kid, I watched my father work really long hours, and he worked in the morning, 7 in the morning till probably 7 at night was a good day. And I started thinking, man, this is awesome. Every other person in the room said immediately no. And I was the only one that said yes. And I went on this journey of this whole network marketing experience that ultimately has taken me to where I am now, but it wasn't always that easy. You see, my first 5 years, I went from failure to failure with great enthusiasm. I really couldn't understand how to turn the excitement into results. There was such a lack of alignment with who I was and who I was trying to portray that it wasn't working for me at all. Once I understood a little bit more about how to go about building the business, my 6th year I did really well. And a lot of people say, oh man, you went so fast. But they didn't see the story behind the glory. They didn't see the 5 years of trying to quit over and over and over again. In fact, my upline at the time, I would often go to him and say, I'm out. And he would say, hey, listen, James, it's okay to be out, but if you're going to leave right now, it takes 10,000 hours to master your craft, and your craft is only really starting to gain some traction now. He says, if you leave now, your clock goes and starts back at zero with whatever else you do. So it kind of kept me in there, right, whilst it was tough. And if for any of you that have found it tough throughout your journey, I'm sure you can relate. I'm sure we've all gone through it at some stage, but it's really important to stick in there through those times. I went on to build teams of tens of thousands of people in over 40 countries, served in senior corporate management in this industry, and now I'm a full-time trainer. I run a company called Reignite. We focus 100% on transformational training, both in our industry and also in the entrepreneurial world. So a little bit of a background to bring it up to here. And today I want to talk to you about something that's really important to me, really, because if I look at the journey I went through and everyone else has gone through, there are 10 things. Well, there are many more than 10, but I'm going to focus on there are 10 things that successful people do better. And I'm going to talk about those 10 things. I'm going to break them down. And if there's anything I can say right now, it's make sure you got a pen and paper, because this is really about, I guess, relating to your story. You know, when you go into any training, we normally retain less than 18 minutes of what we hear. And also we really try to often implement so many things after a training that we just get into overwhelm and we don't do any of it. So today, just focus on one thing out of those 10 that could be probably the most applicable to your journey right now. So let's go into it. All good to go. Paul, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to rock and roll. Fantastic. Great, guys. So, and by the way, if you do, for those of you watching live, do have your camera on, I might get a bit of interaction. And if you don't, then hey, I might get you to type a little bit as well. So successful people don't take advice from anyone that's not where they wish to be. Successful people don't take advice from anyone that's not where they wish to be. Now, what do I mean by this? We often hear this kind of stuff. And look, this can be fairly obvious when you think about it, but I'm going to give you a different spin on it today. You know, there are often going to be people that we meet on our journeys that are going to try to give us advice. Hey, don't do that. Or, hey, maybe you should try it a different way. And what I found over the years is I used to take advice from anyone that gave me advice. And the problem with that was I never grew myself, because I realized a lot of those people were people that had had an experience through someone else, so third-party experience rather than their own. For example, you know, if someone had failed in network marketing, they tell their friend, and it's the friend that gives you the advice, right? It's often the people that tell you not to do things are the ones that haven't been willing to do it themselves. So, you know, and I'm not talking materialistically here in terms of outcomes, you know, only take advice from someone with an Aston Martin if you want an Aston Martin. Hey, it's not about the material stuff. It's also about the values. You see, it's one thing to follow people that have got money. It's another thing to follow people that are good human beings. And you want to make sure that you're really aware of your own highest values. What do you love to live by in terms of those values? What are the values that mean the most to you? And I'll give you a great example. One of the values I've always had has been health. And I used to take advice from people that were really financially well off, but didn't give any focus on their health. And they ended up getting sick. And in fact, a couple of those mentors have since passed on. And I'm sorry to hear it this year, but when I looked at their lifestyle, it was pretty intense. Now, if we don't take advice from people that have similar values, at some stage there's going to be a misalignment. It comes down to when you build your network marketing business, it's the same concept. You want to be bringing people in that you resonate with on a value level, not just an outcome level. We don't want to be seeing people as transactions or as mentors to help us get transactions. We want to be seeing people as genuine human beings. What you find is when you all elevate together and you're all playing on a similar value plane, you will create a lot more magic in your business and in your life. You will start to see there's an excitement. You start to understand there's a language that everyone's speaking. It's the same deal. Guys, if this is making sense, just put a couple of thumbs up if you're on the camera at the moment. But it's important. So you're taking advice from people that have gone through a journey that you're going through, but at the same time live to the same values that you live. Really, really important up front that we focus in on that, because so many of us really only get half of that right, which is, again, we focus on the results, but again, not the way that people went about it. It's one thing to create the money, but if you got a back-end deal to create the money and you're not telling people about it in any business, then all of a sudden there's a lack of alignment. Does that make sense? Okay, great. So number 2, successful people understand that their business will only grow how far they grow. You know, your business will grow directly proportionate to the amount you invest in yourself. And look, the great thing about our industry, we all know the events that are put on through our industry, even the trainings like this that Paul have put on, these are all here to help us to develop and to help us grow. And it's one thing to show up on game day and try to win the race. It's another thing to make sure you put in a huge amount of the back work, you know, so that you're able to really understand what it takes in order to become successful. So what are you currently doing in terms of investing in you? Whether that is daily reading, whether that is daily watching motivational or inspirational kinds of things, what are you feeding your mind with? You see, what I found is as I became a father last year, and by the way, I really didn't mention this, I think it's important to say this up front, this is like the main part of my story. The reason I originally got involved in network marketing was so that when I was eventually in a position where I wanted to have a family, I could be there full time. I could be there full time. I just could literally not have to go off to work, clock on, clock off. And because of my father and going through those long hours, I really had that as a deep desire. Now, I achieved that last year, my 16th year in the industry, when we had our first son born, right? So my vision had to stay clear for 16 years before I achieved the number one reason I got started. And I guess as a bit of a side note, my question to you today is, do you have 16-year vision? Are you willing to put in the work for a long period of time in order to be able to achieve the thing that means the most to you? Now, the reason I was able to get through those 16 years was because of this second piece. I was constantly investing in myself. I was constantly looking at ways to become a better version of me, not trying to be the next Paul, but to be the next James, right? In a world where we're connected with so many people on social media, we aspire to be like people. We start to compare. You know, you're not the next Gary Vaynerchuk. You are you. And so to become the best version of you, you want to make sure that you're really working on your own inner game. So again, reading, you know, whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's attending events, whether it's attending network marketing training events within your company. And the great thing about our companies is they are able to subsidize a lot of the costings. Once you start getting to the international conventions, those things normally would cost thousands of dollars to go to. And you're only paying a small percentage because the company wants you there. So again, what are you currently doing in order to grow and better yourself? And for those of you that are live, there is a chat box. Feel free to write in the comments, what is the number one thing you do to continue to work on you? You know, a lot of people say, when I make the money, I'll go and attend the event. When I make the money, I'll go and buy the course. It doesn't work like that. It's actually the other way around. You see, energetically, the universe works on intention. And you've got to commit up front to your cause and make sure that you put everything you can into becoming that best version of yourself, because ultimately everything will start to grow on the back end of that. If we're constantly waiting until we've made the first bit of money to be able to invest in ourselves, it'll be this vicious cycle of not growing enough to be able to grow the big bank account, and it'll just keep going like that. My first 5 years in network marketing, that was 100% what happened to me. I just didn't understand this piece. And once I did, everything started to grow as well. Number 3, successful people network on purpose. Now, I love the concept of turning strangers into friends and friends into family. Turning strangers into friends and friends into family. You know, we've grown up. I mean, I especially since 2000 and, you know, sort of 2-ish, or 2001, 2002, when I got involved in this industry, I was always taught the 3-foot rule, which means that if anyone comes within 3 foot of you, you prospect them. And the problem that we're seeing now is a lot of people are taking that same approach and they're also applying it online. If anyone's, within a click, people are sending out a spam message. And the problem with that is that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. There is the absolute importance of being able to build real relationships, trust-based relationships, and that takes time. That's not an initial conversation. That takes time. So are you networking for your business, or are you networking for the relationships? This makes a big difference when you get out and build real life relationships. A lot of people say, well, let's go and prospect 3 to 5 people a day. I say, can you make 3 to 5 new friends a day? Can you go out and you can build real relationships, again, with people with values that are similar to yours? Because when you have, let's say over 30 days, you have 5 new friends a day that you've created, some online, some offline. That's 150 new people that you can have in your circle within a 30-day period. And by connecting with them on a level where they've realized that you care about them without a transactional mindset, what naturally happens is people start begging you to find out what you do and how you can help them, because they trust you, they like you. And that's where the whole attraction marketing comes in. People look online, they go, wow, this person's really helping me. Maybe I can find out how I can get some more value from them. And we find that often. I get messages in my inbox saying, James, can you help me get my next result? I'm like, wow, who are you? But you're wanting to work with me already because of something I put online. That is the way we want the world to work. So successful people network on purpose, not for their business, but for the sake of building real life relationships. They understand this concept through and through. The fourth component that successful people do is they understand the 10,000 hour rule. It takes 10,000 hours to master a craft. Has anyone read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell? Just put your hand up if you're on camera. Okay, no one at this stage. Guys, this is probably a book I would definitely put into that investment bank in terms of growing yourself. And Malcolm Gladwell, he studied a lot of different crafts or professions, if you'd like, and what people had done to become a master. And he even looked at the Beatles and what they did in Berlin before they actually, became the band that everyone knew. And they put in so much work behind the scenes of practice that when all of a sudden they came out, everyone said, wow, they're an overnight success. But again, no one had seen the backstory. You see, what he found was that when you're going through your 10,000 hours, that is where you're going to shape your future. Now, if you're in network marketing full-time, it's going to take you 5 years full-time to do your 10,000 hours. If you're part-time at 20 hours a week, it's going to take you 10 years to do your 10,000 hours. And most people, 90-something% of people will quit before they've done their 10,000 hours because their expectations and their outcomes were not aligned. Is this making sense? Their expectations and their outcomes were not aligned. And Veronica says, what's the book? It's Outliers, Outliers, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And, when people join, they expect to make their $1 million in their first year, 3 years. And the reality is that, when they don't make their first, $100, they're out, right? But the reality was they still needed to work a lot on themselves. And if you do see people come into the industry and move a lot faster than you, hey, they've probably done their 10,000 hours in networking already. Not network marketing, networking, right? They've literally built real life relationships based on likability and trust. They've done it that many times that the moment they say to their network, hey, are you open to something? They're saying, well, it's you. Of course I am, right? So again, we've got to do our time. And when we go through our time, there are 4 different phases that we go through. I haven't got a pen with me, but I'll just kind of explain this or spell this out. The way that your 10,000 hours generally gets broken down is into 4 what I would call bite-sized chunks. And those chunks are based on the first phase that everyone goes through is where you are unconsciously incompetent. That means you don't know what you don't know. So when you first got started, your motivation's high, but your skills are low. And you don't know anything at this stage, right? So what happens here is it's ignorance on fire. Your motivation's so high, you go and make a few phone calls. And then, I remember my phone call, the first phone call I made was to my mum's best friend. And I spoke for 30 minutes before I even asked her whether she was open to listening to me, right? I gave her the company charity all the way through to about the 300 odd products that company had, right? And everything in between. It was ignorance on fire. So at that point, once I realized that approach wasn't working, I went into the second phase, which was the conscious incompetence stage. I realized that I didn't know anything. Now, most people that join your network marketing business, when they get to that second phase, they're going to quit. You know what they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, but the reality is everyone quits. Only 3 or 5% of people will stay in the game at that point. Now, it's like a gym membership. You join it on the 1st of January, you go for a week, you're getting up at 5 a.m., you realize that you have to sweat more than you thought. It's all too hard, I give up. And the thing with the gym membership is the gyms still get your payment every month because you keep forgetting to cancel. You know what's really funny in network marketing? People don't forget to cancel their auto ship. They do it, right? So if people quit, often you lose them completely. And it's important that if we're showing people this journey that people are going to go through on the day they join. I mean, I used to just draw this as a graph for people, and I'll actually at the end, I'll send you guys a screenshot. I'll send it to Paul, and Paul, you can put it in the group of these 4 phases so you guys can relate to it. You know, by just showing people that this is what they're going to go through, you're going to manage expectations much faster, because when they say, hey, I'm out, you say, you in phase 2, are you? Right? I knew that was coming, and they knew that was coming as well. Phase 3 is where you basically become consciously competent. That's where you now know what you need to do. You have to think about it, but you're knowing what you've got to do. I mean, it's literally like, okay, I can present. I'm a little bit nervous because I haven't done this a lot of times, but I'm okay. I can do it. If someone says, hey, where do I find the answers? I know where to get those answers from. So what you generally find in the first 3 phases is your motivation goes like this. If you're looking at me on camera, your motivation starts high in the first phase. Second phase, it drops. That's where people quit. And then the third phase, it starts coming back out the other end, because now you're motivated because you know what you're doing. However, to do your 10,000 hours, there's a 4th phase. And the 4th phase is where you become unconsciously competent. That's where you're now doing everything on autopilot. Not that you always do it on autopilot, but you can. It's like when you drive the car and someone pulls out in front of you. You don't have to think consciously about putting your foot on the brake. You do it. It's subconsciously programmed. It's happening. It's like if you put the car into gear or you're turning. When you get to the end result, you don't go, or the end destination, you don't go, I did this the whole time with my steering wheel. You just got there, right? And so when we look at how this all works and how this all plays out in network marketing, you're going to have those 4 phases, but it's going to take you 10,000 hours to get through from phase 1 to phase 4. Now, the power of this is that you don't have to be a master to be making the money, because you've already got people that have done their 10,000 hours. You can already, connect and call on people that are successful in your uplines and in your company that can leverage their knowledge with your motivation, especially in the first phase. And that's why getting someone started correctly and fast within 72 hours of starting, whilst motivation is up, is the most important thing you could do, because you can use your upline skills and your motivation. Guys, if this is making sense in the comments, I just want you to write the word sense as well. So we've gone through 4 key components so far. I just want to summarize so far. Number 1, successful people do not take advice from anyone that's not where they wish to be. And that doesn't come just from an outcome basis, that's also from a value basis. Number 2, your business will only grow to how far you grow yourself. Successful people understand the investment in you is the most important investment you can make in the world. Number 3, successful people network on purpose. They focus in on making sure they turn strangers into friends and friends into family, meaning that the family part could be your business, right? But you're not taking a stranger to a family member until you've got to really grow and to know them. In 2018, it's a different approach to what we've always taught. It's what needs to happen. Number 4, we understand the 10,000 hour rule. It's going to take you time to do your craft. We say it's 3 to 5 years, a 3 to 5 year plan to get to the top of the plan. Look, that's the exception to the rule, because most people don't do 3 to 5 years of time. Most people leave before that. So again, if you're genuinely involved here to create whatever it is that you desire in your life, remember this rule. Stay in there for the long term and do your time. Master your craft through practicing over and over and over again. Successful people, number 5, know their numbers. Successful people know their numbers. I remember in my first few years I was involved in this industry, I would have these times where it was just like, it's not happening. It's all too hard. And I remember contacting my upline at the time, John. And John was very, very successful. He'd made, over $50 million in this industry. And very, very, honorable kind of guy. And I remember saying to him when he asked, how's it going? I said, it's not happening. It's not working. It's not going fast enough. And he says, James, when you say that, are you talking about like this week or just in general? I said, well, I'm having a really bad week. He says, James, what did you do 6 weeks ago in terms of activity? I said, well, I don't know, John. What are you talking about? He says, James, what you can measure, you can improve. If you can't measure something, you can't improve it. And generally what we find in any form of network marketing, sales, entrepreneurial type of business is that the seeds that you plant now will only start to sprout 6 or more weeks from now. Okay, so I'll say that again. The seeds that you plant now will only start to sprout up to from about 6 weeks onwards from now. There's always going to be an exception. You might go and run a presentation today with a brand new person that you've never met and they sign up. There's always the exception. But generally, it takes 5 to 12 exposures for someone to sign up in the network marketing industry. 5 to 12 exposures. So it can take 6 weeks or more, to get traction with a huge amount of activity up front. Now, to put that into perspective, he then said, so what did you actually do 6 weeks ago? And I said, I can't tell you. He says, if you can't tell me what you did, how are you ever going to be able to improve your business? So then we got into this whole tracking system. And Paul mentioned up front, you've got to track your numbers. You've got to know your numbers. You've got to know exactly what you've been doing. And if you haven't been tracking up till now, today is my challenge to you to start. Like, you've got to start doing this. Because even if you're a visionary, this is going to bring you back to practicality. I'm that kind of person. If you love your numbers, this is going to be easy for you. If you love kind of tracking things and all of that. Now, I have a really simple tracking sheet, if you'd like, and it's broken down into 5 key areas. The 5 areas, which are the income producing activities within your business, is number 1, adding names to your contact list. Number 2, inviting people to take a look at some information. Number 3, sharing that information. Number 4, following up. And number 5, enrolling. I'll say those again, because write these down, guys. This is what happens. This is the cycle of duplication. This is what happens every single day in your business. Number 1 is adding people to your contact list. Number 2 is inviting. Number 3 is sharing. 4 is following up. And number 5 is enrolling. And what happens here is if you can track those activities every single day from now onwards, if you say to me in 6 weeks' time, my business is not working, it's not really going well, I'm going to ask you to provide those numbers to me for this week. And if you guys are having a good week this week, there's a good chance that you did have a good week 6 weeks ago. And if you're having a bad week, there's a good chance of that. Again, this is on average. I'm not talking, set in stone. It can happen longer. I mean, it took me 10 years to enroll one guy once. 10 years, right? So again, this is just generally an average that's really great to work with. And it's good in terms of managing expectations for your team as well. So how do you use these numbers? Well, this is what I would suggest as a tracking sheet. You get 1 point a day for every new person you added to your contact list. 1 point a day. You get 2 points a day for every invite when you actually have someone answer the phone. So if you're inviting on a voice note or a Facebook message, that doesn't count. You've actually got to pick up the phone, because this puts people back into the relationship capacity. So if you're doing everything on Facebook, call people on Facebook. And then if they answer, there's an invite. So the second one is 2 points for inviting, 3 points for actually sharing and running a presentation or sharing the information, 4 points for following up, which in my mind is always another presentation or another meeting. Because if you send someone away at the end of a presentation and you say, oh, hey, I'll call you in 2 days, you've just handed all of your control over to that person. So I always ensure that at the end of the presentation, you've always booked either it's a yes or it's a no or it's a follow-up. A yes, they sign up. A no, you get referrals. A follow-up, you're basically booking the next meeting. You get 4 points for doing that. You also get 5 points for enrolling. Now, rather than focusing on the outcome, which is the enrollment, we can focus then on the actions, which are the other 4 points as well. And at the end of the day, you want to be, as a team, working out a number that you can work with in order to be really setting realistic expectations per day. So my general example is 30 points a day or more if you're full-time in the business, and try to get it to around 20 points or so if you're part-time. If you're anytime, 10 to 15 hours is great. The more points you can do, the better. But whatever you can do, find a capacity to be able to hit the numbers every single day. And how you get to those numbers is totally up to you. Whether it's one day it might be you've made a lot of invites, another day you've done a lot of presentations. At the end of the day, it's all going to balance itself out. So that's really, really important. So again, your numbers then from doing that. And then ultimately you could go through all of these tracking sheets and identify, how you're doing in terms of how many people you've spoken to, how many conversions you've got, and all of that. I can tell you my own numbers. If someone said to me in a workshop I was running on the weekend, they said, James, I want to enroll 30 people in the next 90 days. What do I need to do? And I said to them, if I go by, I said, I don't know your numbers, but I'm going to go by mine. I need 667 people on my contact list. I know that 1 out of those 4 people on the list will never answer my phone call. I know 3 out of 4 will. I know out of the people that answer the actual phone call, about 2 in 4 or 2 in 5, it's about 20% or thereabouts, 40% will actually agree to looking at some more information. I know after I confirm 3 times, out of the people that were interested in actually looking at the information, about 1 in 4 of those people are still not going to show up. And then when I actually run the meeting, I know 20% of people are going to sign up. So if I run 10 meetings, 2 will say yes. Guys, there's my numbers. So I can tell you, if you want to enroll based on my numbers over 16 years in the industry, then you're going to need 667 people on your list to enroll 30 people. Now, does that scare people? Absolutely. I'm a reality kind of guy here by saying, yeah, but if you only, go out and build lists and meet people genuinely for meeting you and build these networks and have fun with this. And if you only needed 30 more people in your business to help you get to your goals, of course, you're going to move mountains to ensure you've got enough people on your list. But again, expectations versus outcomes, and often the expectations are unrealistic. We think we're going to become a millionaire from speaking to 10 people. So this is really important. I've spoken a lot on this, and I can train on this for hours on this one topic. It's important that we know our numbers. If you can measure something, you can improve it. If you can't measure something, you can't improve it. And I'm just going through the comments here and just making sure that everything is all making sense. So if that is making sense, drop a 5 in the comments, the number 5, because that was our 5th point. Okay, we're going to go into number 6, branding ourselves. Look, in 2018, we can't avoid the fact that personal branding is absolutely paramount to your success. And I don't mean going all out and having to have websites and things like that. You can have that. That's the next level. But we need to remember that our story is our biggest tool and gives us the most amazing amount of traction when we know how to share it properly. So by positioning our story in front of our audience, firstly, we can make a profound impact on the world. So rather than going out to everyone and saying, hey, I work with, DC as your first point of contact, let people find out more about you as a person as well. People buy into people, not into companies. The hype of companies will only ever last so long. So remember that your story is your biggest asset. My question is, are you branding yourself with that story all the way through? When someone at a coffee shop says, what do you you have a template in order to know how to really structure your story? When someone looks at the About section on your Facebook profile, do you have that same story written out so people know who you are? When you take it to the next level and you start looking at Facebook pages and you start to market yourself, do people start to see that story show up in the content that you're sharing? It's important. Today, I'm not going to have time to go into how to brand yourself, and I'm sure there's plenty of training that you can access on that. But from a branding perspective, just know that you are your biggest asset, and successful people understand in the modern age to become ultimately successful in the social media world, we need to position ourselves ahead of our companies. Our companies are always there on the back end. When someone says, what do? It's there, it's ready to rock. But before that, talk about where you've come from. And I always talk about a 5-step template for a story. I'm going to go into it really quickly. I'm going to mention it. I'm not going to train on it, if that makes sense. So it's going to be quick. So write this down quickly. Story is broken into 5 areas. Number 1, your background. Where have you come from? For the last 10 years, I was an accountant living in London. That's enough, right? But where have you come from? You need to be completely congruent and authentic with that. Number 2, what are you passionate about? What are you passionate about? I've been an accountant for the last 10 years, but what I'm passionate about is spending time with my family. Number 3 is, what's the problem that you have faced that has stopped you being able to live out that passion? The problem is I don't have enough hours in the day. I work time for money. I trade time for money. If I don't work, I don't get paid. There's not enough hours to go and spend my time with my family. Number 4 is the solution that you found through a story. So it might be, 18 months ago, Paul contacted me about an opportunity which excited me because I could create another income stream without jeopardizing my day job. And number 5 is your vision. And your vision is basically sharing, where you see this going. So my vision is to help people like you and I to be able to create another income stream without jeopardizing our current work. You can position it however you want. So to summarize that, number 1 was your background. Number 2 is what are you passionate about. Number 3 is the problem you faced. Number 4 is the solution you found without giving away the actual name of the solution at that stage. And number 5 is the vision. And by the way, the person that asks the last question wins. So there is a 6th step, and that is asking a question. So it might be, so tell me more about you. I'd love to find out what you've done. It might be, what about yourself? Again, asking something that prompts a response from that person is going to give you the best possible method of communication moving forwards as well. So that's important as well. You probably can hear my little son. He's just woken up. He can hear I'm here in the room. He's starting to bash 15 months. Very, very excited, starting to work out that Dad is on a call. Number 7, successful people understand that the will to win is not nearly as important as the will to prepare to win. This was said by Vince Lombardi. The will to win is not nearly as important as the will to prepare to win. Now, this is important because sometimes when it's in that first phase of being ignorant, of having ignorance on fire and going out and just trying to get people involved in your business, if we don't really have a template, and I don't like personally, this is just a personal opinion, I don't like to give people scripts, I like to give people templates. So rather than you using my words, you use the structure and then we duplicate the structure. In terms of being able to go out and help someone when they first get started in the business, they need a template with how to invite, how they're going to structure what they say, at least. That's one preparation method. Another preparation method is knowing why you got started in the first place, your vision, your goals, your dreams, time management. I'm giving you just a few different areas of preparation you could focus on. Eliminating distractions. One of the most important things that Chantel and I did as we've been bringing our little son into the world, and people call us crazy, but we got rid of the TV. And the reason we got rid of the TV is because we realized that the times we could be spending quality communication with our little guy and the times we could be working, we had it on in the background as a distraction. And it was taking us away from being present. And those that are the most present in the moment, grounded people, are the ones that are ultimately going to succeed long-term. Because, so many people live in the past, which leads to regret. So many people live in the future, which is anxiety. And so many of us just forget to be here in the present. And so one of the areas of preparation is what can you eliminate that's holding you back within your life? Now, TV was just one for us, right? But for you, it might be something else. It might be that you just love socializing so much that you literally out every night with the same group of friends. And if you're building a business, you're going to have to grow with more friends than just one circle group, right? So you might find that there's another way of going about it. So there's all these different ways that you can prepare to win. But understand, preparation is absolutely important in network marketing. However, when I say preparation, I don't mean procrastination. There's a big difference. Preparation is doing things behind the scenes whilst you're still in action. Procrastination is not doing anything and waiting until you've got everything perfect. And that doesn't serve us either. Just put the word P in the comments if you procrastinate, if you're a procrastinator. And this is a safe environment. Feel free to share if you'd like. Because, a lot of us hold off doing the most important things until we feel the most comfortable. Because a lot of people are emotional builders. So if we feel like doing something, we take action. If we don't feel like it, we don't take action. And being an emotional builder is only going to get so far, because when someone says no to us, often we go into the witness protection program, slowly exiting stage left because we didn't feel good from that. So we don't want to go out and do it. So we've got a few Ps. So we've got about 6 Ps and there's about 18, 21 people on the call. So I'm just going to put it this way. I believe that the other people that haven't put a P in the comments are going to put a P in the comments tomorrow, right? We're all procrastinators, guys, at something in some regard. It's important to prioritize your time, and that can come from preparation as well. Okay, so we've gone through some really important points. Obviously, a huge amount of sort of info on a variety of things, but these are important. Number 8, going back to networking, and when we talked about successful people networking on purpose, number 8 is about sponsoring up. Where I had my biggest breakthrough, in addition to investing in myself in the industry, was the moment I actually started to realize that I needed to find people that were also more successful than I was, or had access to bigger networks, or inspired me, and I had to connect with those people and bring those people into the business as well. It became difficult to do it until I grew myself. Once I grew myself, I realized by attracting people that were already more successful than me, I had the ability to be able to leverage myself a lot faster within the business. So if you guys are building this as a business, my challenge to you is to write a list of the 10 most influential people you know, and ask yourself why you haven't either spoken to those people or how you can speak to those people by getting in contact with your upline and coming up with a plan. Because what you'll find is those that are already successful understand the concept of networking. And I found that about 80% of those people I contacted said no, but most of them connected me with someone that was interested, because their networks and their mindset is so much greater than sometimes how we believe. Where everything shifted was I stopped looking at individuals when I started to create my networking business. I stopped looking at, hey, let's sign up Mary. Instead, I started looking at building networks, signing up networks of people. So look, hey, Paul, you're successful. Paul, listen, why don't we look at how we can structure this as a win-win environment? You might not want to build the business, but do you know anyone that could be interested? And then Paul might bring me a few people. And all of a sudden now I've been able to enroll a network of people in a short period of time rather than one-on-one. So at the same time that you're working through the current people you've got access to, I challenge you to sponsor up, to find people that are more successful than you as well. It doesn't mean your whole business is focused around that. Eventually you might create that blueprint and that might be it. But right now, the challenge is to step out of that comfort zone that little bit more. And that leads me into number 9, which is successful people are willing to do the uncomfortable. You know, obviously our business grows based on how much we grow ourselves, but also in scenarios where we might be most uncomfortable is probably going to give us our biggest phase of growth. So for those of you that don't like public speaking, this is a great example. Look, we need to be speakers, guys. I mean, I work with a lot of speakers all around the world, and I don't mean this by you have to go and be a pro speaker, but here's the thing, by being able to share your message in a public environment at some stage in your career, it's going to give you a major breakthrough. It's going to give you confidence. It's going to give you positioning. You're going to start to be seen as a key person of influence. If you can work on public speaking, and if someone says to you, hey, listen, can you do the introduction of this meeting for us? Or can you jump on Zoom and share your story? My challenge to you is always to say yes, even if you haven't done it before, even if it's the most uncomfortable thing, because these kind of scenarios are going to help you to grow so much as a person. And I've just given you that as one example, you know, the speaking part. But, you know, most people say they're scared of speaking. I think the two things people are scared of most is dying and public speaking. And the worst thing you could do is die whilst you're public speaking. So don't do that, right? But the most important thing when it comes to this kind of thing is to be aware when there's an opportunity, even if you haven't done it before, to do it. Because that'll help you grow constantly and that'll give you leveraged personal development. Are we all still together on this? Okay, fantastic. We've got one more. And this one is my favorite by a long way, and that is energy flows. So this is number 10. Successful people understand that how they start their day can set up a huge amount in terms of the success of the day thereafter. Most people in today's day and age, I was looking at some stats the other day, and I'm still compiling them because they're done every year by all different bodies in all different regions. But generally, there was one study I was looking at, which was something like 35% of Americans think of their phone when they wake up before they think of their spouse lying next to them, right? It's pretty scary, these kind of numbers that you start to see with what's going on. We're addicted to the cell phone concept now, the flash, the fear of loss, the dopamine kind of effect, which is, we're anticipating what we're going to see on there. So we're finding that the first thing a lot of people in the world are doing now is they're reaching for their phones. And by reaching for their phones, what happens, not only do they continue to fuel an addiction, which has been proven it is an addiction. Again, it's based on, dopamine being that, it's that, oh gosh, I've got to do it because I'm going to miss out on something, right? So it's almost like having a hit of something, the phone now. But at the same time, once you're on there, it elevates cortisol levels. Now, cortisol levels is your stress hormone that's designed when you get a fright to basically get you out of danger and then come back down to their normal levels. And what we are starting to see is because people are on their phones a lot and they see the first message and then they go for the second, then they get the email that's stressful, or they get something, they've got to respond now. All of a sudden, their cortisol levels are elevated from the moment they wake up all throughout the day. Now, when your cortisol levels are raised for more than 7 minutes, you become 50%. I'm going to say the simplest way is you become 50% less smart or 50% more stupid, right? Because your brain is not designed, when your cortisol levels are elevated, to do anything in form of deep thinking. It's designed to get you out of danger. It's like, there's a lion, I got to run, I got to get out of here. And so a lot of people are living with this cortisol level right up, which what happens, that creates anxiety. But at the same time, then you get into the car and someone then cuts you off in the morning, then your hand's on the horn. And then you're reacting to everything. You're in the office, someone says something, now you're taking it personally. And this happens then also in the network marketing game, where you make that first phone call and it's not the way that you were hoping it was going to go. And so then again, you exit stage left, not wanting to do anything for the rest of the day because you're stressed about the outcome and you're worried about what people think. So the reason that we really need to focus on this is, the first challenge from me today is don't reach for your phone first thing in the morning. And also, please don't reach for it. I mean, if you're going to bed in the next hour, literally make sure that this is the last thing you do on technology, because it also, screen time basically suppresses your melatonin levels, which helps you get into a deep sleep. So there's all this stuff going on in this world. We're in a technology world. Let's be aware of it. What we need to do is we need to understand how to start our day right. So I do a whole concept called MBI. M stands for move, B stands for breathe, I stands for intentions. So getting moving for 20 to 30 minutes, first thing in the morning. Hey, if you have to get up earlier to do this, you have to get up earlier to do this. The investment you put in yourself is going to pay dividends long term. By moving first thing, you're going to start to create endorphin releases in the body, which are your happy hormones. You're going to naturally feel good. From an ideas perspective, you become much more open to thinking and feeling and deciding what you're going to do with your day, because you're, again, got the energy flowing through the lungs. And through the body. And then what we also want to make sure is we're sweating as well. So we're getting rid of some toxins. It doesn't have to be intense, but we want to start our day right. The second thing we do on top of moving is we're breathing. We're taking 10 minutes, even if it's just 10 minutes. And for some of you, it might be a stretch. Literally, like after you've done your moving, stretch, right? But also breathing through the stomach, not through the lungs. Because a lot of people are like, with their whole days, if we can breathe through the stomach, we're going to also slow everything down. We're going to ground ourselves, and we're going to start to see things with a lot more presence, a lot more perspective. Again, then we're avoiding the whole anxiety, regret kind of concept that we often see people go through. So now you've started your day feeling good. You've now taken some time for you to ground yourself. It's like when they say, the oxygen mask is going to fall, and make sure you put it on you first before you put it on anyone around you. Same concept here. You've got to take time for you. If you're not taking time for you, then you're only going to ultimately burn yourself out. The final part of the MBI is to set your intentions for the day. So now you're in a present space and you're grounded. You can easily be saying, okay, what do I want to accomplish for today in my networking business? And you can say it out loud as if you've already done it. So for example, it might be 6 a.m. and you could say, hey, it's 6 p.m. and I've met 5 new friends today and I feel fantastic. And saying that out loud puts the present tense involved in terms of the concept of already doing it, and you're going to start to really manifest that throughout the day as well. Say it regularly. Make sure you write it all down. So by starting your day with MBI, we understand that energy flows, good and bad. If we start off on the wrong foot, we're going to attract a lot more of that stress kind of energy. If we start off nice and focused on us, we're going to be able to react in a completely different environment. For example, car cuts you off. It's cool. I'm not in any rush. I'm happy. I'm good. And that's really important when it comes to our businesses, because I know a lot of people I work with have come in to building their business with this, I need to make this work. I need to make this work. If this doesn't work, then I can't achieve this, or I can't pay the bills. And you want to take that away from your thought patterns, and you want to be focused 100% on just going, I know this can work if I invest the right amount of time in me. So guys, we've gone through 10. I'm going to summarize those 10. I'm going to hand it back over to Paul. But, successful people don't take advice from anyone that are not where they wish to be. Number 2, your business will only grow to how far you grow. You want to network on purpose was number 3. Number 4, you do your 10,000 hours and you're looking pretty good. Number 5, successful people know their numbers. So make sure that you're tracking your numbers moving forwards. I've given you one method to be able to do that today. Number 6, brand yourself. Make sure that you're clear on your story. Number 7, prepare. Always behind the scenes, making sure you're still front facing with action. Number 7, prepare to win. Number 8, sorry, I've already done 7. Number 8 was sponsoring up, making sure that you're always looking to find successful people in your business. Number 9, always be willing to do the uncomfortable and to stretch and say yes to opportunities that allow you to grow. And number 10, energy flows good or bad. Make sure you start your day correctly. So guys, we've covered a fair bit of ground. I'd love you to put in the comments, what was the point that stood out the most for you? Everyone's on their own unique journey. What was the one thing that stood out for you? Because I would love to challenge you to implement that as of tomorrow morning. Paul, over to you, my friend.
Superb, James. Thank you so much for that. I said it at the beginning, I knew it was going to be brilliant, and it was. It was absolutely fantastic. And I've got, loads of notes myself. And one of the first things that I'm going to touch on, and, I'll open it up to the rest of the guys like I always do, but my wife's planning or prepping for an interview tomorrow. And we was talking tonight about the unconsciously incompetent. And I said to Tara, I've heard that before. I said, I can't for the life of me remember where I've heard it for. And I said, there's 4. There's, the unconsciously incompetent and the... And she was like, yeah, but we use it quite a lot at work. And as soon as you said it, it was unbelievable.
I love that.
Some of the biggest takeaways, and again, I took notes tonight, just like I did when you done the speaking for the Australians. Something that we've got to really kind of like get our heads around. And as I said, one of the biggest things tonight, your first 5 years, you went from failure to failure. And being involved with network marketing, I mean, I guess I've been involved for 5 years. I joined my first company in 2013. But I would say with regards to my 10,000 hours, I've been in direct sellers for about 20 months or so. And I've only been full-time since December of last year. So this is still very, very new for me, but we see it so many times in the fact that people quit after a week, people quit after a month, and you went 5 years going from failure to failure. Yeah. And it took you 16 years to get to the position that you're in now. And, how many people on this call and how many people in the industry are prepared to work 16 years to then be able to be in the position that they want to be in with regards to having that time freedom. So, for me, that was one of the biggest takeaways. Again, going back on the whole 10,000 hours, it's what I picked up on the previous call. 5 years full-time, 10 years part-time. Again, doing this for 5 years full-time is a lot of work, and again, 10 years going part-time. How many people on this call, how many people in the company, how many people in the profession, when they set out, are prepared to last for 10 years. And, there's no coincidence in the fact that all the leaders, all the 5-figure income earners per month, or the 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure income earners yearly, all the trainers that have gone on, like yourself and your wife are doing now, have done that. They've gone through it all, and yet so many people get overpromised and underdelivered, and so many people think it's going to be an easy ride, and so many people still seem to think that it's going to be a quick fix and an overnight success and a get-rich-quick scheme. But we know it's not, and we know that we have to go through shit. Really, we have to take all sorts and dodge all sorts of bullets, and as I said, for me, that was one of the biggest things as well.
And also, Paul, on that note as well, I mean, what I was saying before is my upline said this to me right in those first 5 years. He says, if you quit, that clock goes back to zero and whatever else you do. It's not just network marketing focus. So yeah, it's not just do people, have the staying power in our industry. Do they have the staying power in anything? You know, they really committed to their cause. And that's why we see, you know, horrible stats, which is only 3% of the world become really successful entrepreneurs. It's not the fact that no one else couldn't do it. It's the fact that just people just didn't give it the time and go through that motion to get there.
Yeah, massively. And, you know, I've said it myself. If this fails, then it's down to me. And if it succeeds, it's because of what we've done collectively. And I'll be 39 in February, but I don't want to go back to work. You know, I don't want to go back and give power to somebody else. I like the lifestyle that I've got now with regards to being able to do what I want, when I want, being able to get up and go to bed and eat, drink, sleep, train and travel like when I want. But I know that it's a good 10-year stretch still in front of me. You know, I know that I've got a lot of hard work and a lot of hours to do, and I probably do work more hours now than I did when I was in full-time employment, but I do it when I want to do it, and I do what I enjoy. So I am going to I'm going to open it up now because, as I said, like, I've listened to James before and we've had a lot of conversations, and I want to hear from you guys, really, even if it's just some feedback about what you thought about tonight's call, the biggest takeaway that you've got. And if you've got a question for James, then fire it at him, because, as I said, this guy's got up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning in Australia to join us on this call. And, you know, I thought it was absolutely outstanding. So who would like to ask James a question, or who would like to give James some feedback tonight? Come on.
Should we pick on someone?
Should we?
I think Zoe's looking ready to ask a question.
There we go. Zoe, you've been put on the spot there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much a question, but I think something that you said about sort of like public speaking. I mean, Paul and I, well, we've known each other 4 or 5 years. We've worked together and everything else. And as a fitness instructor, and I used to work in schools as well, I public speak all the time, but actually public speaking about network marketing is something that I struggled with massively. And it's only been really the last probably 3 months that I will even have my sort of the screen live on Zoom calls, which, I mean, that's been a massive thing for me anyway. But I mean, Paul made me public speak at a social event that I held probably 4 or 5 months ago. He literally said, right, you're opening it up. And I was like, and yeah, it was tough, but actually it's probably one of the best things I had to do, because now, yeah, I do still get nervous, but if you didn't get nervous, that means you're not passionate about what you're doing. So, yeah, so I mean, I do, yeah, so I sort of just, yeah, I mean, I do quite enjoy it now, but it does still get tough sometimes. So
it's so great to hear that. By the way, congratulations on that journey, because again, so many people are thinking they want to do it, but they don't do it. And just to say that you've done it becomes then such a story to lead for others as well. So that's really, really powerful.
On top of that, I will add that Zoe is actually our guest speaker on next week's call.
Oh, fantastic, Zoe. That is awesome.
James, I will send you a recording of that one as well, so you can have a look at it.
Absolutely, Zoe. Please let me know how it goes, eh?
I will do. Thank you.
Right, Stoya, even though your screen's not on, I know you've got up very early in the morning, so come on, what's your question or what's your feedback?
Hey, Stoya.
Hi, James. How are you?
Yeah, great. Great to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for doing this. You were just amazing again. Absolutely amazing. Oh, look, I'm with Zoe because I was just I just logged back in, so I missed a little bit. I can talk, and you all know to do a presentation or talk about, I don't know, just Zoom calls, and I get really nervous. I can't even get my head around doing lives, because I seriously feel like it's all scrambled in my head. Yeah, so I've just got to find the...
Sorry, you go. There's a bit of a lag. Just say that last bit.
Oh, sorry. I just got to sort myself out, I think, and it's within me because I know that it's important to start doing Zooms and our lives especially.
It's important to do lives from a Facebook algorithm and the future of the world perspective, really, really important to do lives. However, it's got to be done for the right reasons rather than just doing it because you've got to do it because Facebook says you've got to do it, right? One thing I always say is that and this is what I went through personally, if you're focused on knowing that you've got to do a live and you've got a topic you want to share, but you're 100% reluctant on sharing it because you're getting into a scramble. Often what that means is you're thinking about or you're perceiving what you think the audience is going to do. You've already got a bit of a perception that causes the anxiety effect, because again, now you're thinking ahead in the future. So what happens is then it's a little bit similar to cortisol levels. Cortisol's up for 7 minutes. All of a sudden now I can't think, right? Because again, 50% of my brain capacity just literally shuts off. So what I always find really helps is the fact, by saying this really, and I'm going to be just really straight up, when we're worried about doing something or we go blank, we're worried too much about ourselves and not about helping others. You know, when it comes to adding value online, we're there to add value to others by sharing what we already know. So you don't need to go and create a new version of you. You just need to share what you already know. Like what's the journey you've been on your entire life up till now? What's something that you know about, right? It might be that you know how to cook a really cool meal. Like there's one meal that you just cook more than others. Why don't you set up the camera in an environment where you can share that? Share something that you know about where you don't have to think about you, and then focus on going, hang on, this could add value to other people. Because when we focus on helping others, all of a sudden it's not about us anymore. It's about genuinely making an impact in their lives. And when we realize that, then all of a sudden we shift from I'm worried about me to I think actually this could help someone. I think I need to do this. And by just making that tiny little shift can make a profound impact. So if you, and this is for anyone, if you haven't done a live before, this could be a great environment with your team group, like your team Facebook page. Maybe one day you set a challenge and you all do a live in there at some stage throughout that day and give each other, feedback, positive feedback, and just help each other behind the scenes. Because again, moving forwards, I think we've got about 3 years left with Facebook the way it is, before another platform's going to take over from building our business on these platforms. I just think Facebook's getting very cluttered now with the amount of users. So the next phase is 100% video. And then after that, look, they might adapt and do something great, but otherwise it'll be another platform. So how are we as a team going to grow our network marketing businesses effectively online on Facebook? We're going to have to get good at video. And the way we get good at video is we share things that we absolutely already know about. We don't try to become the network marketing trainer. We don't try to position ourselves as anyone that we're not. Again, if we're the I don't know what it could be, the pasta chef, the salad chef, the whatever it is, share it, right? And it might not be that. It might be that you've been in a corporate position your entire life and you know how to lead, or you know how to manage, or you know a life hack to get faster through some form of time management technique. Whatever it is, what people are really looking for at the moment is they're looking for life hacks. This is just a little bit of a tip for everyone. They're looking for ways to make something happen in their life quicker, faster, easier. So even if it's like, today I'm going to share with you the 3 tips to have more time or more hours in your day. That'd be really interesting for a lot of people if you know how to do that. So yeah, that's what I would start with from that point.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, James.
It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to watching your first live.
Thank you. I know I've done a couple, but I'll work on it.
Next one.
Friends of mine keep saying to me, because they find it funny. They stop what they're doing and they watch me because they find it funny. So I'm not going to change. If people find it funny, then I'm happy.
Good. All right. Well, keep us all posted. We'll all be on it.
Done.
I think Story's first live lasted about 3 hours and 37 minutes, and then I think her second one, I think it lasted about 4 weeks.
That was brilliant.
Because she does like to talk. Right, has anyone got any final questions to ask James before we finish up? I think you've blown him away tonight, mate.
No problems at all. Hey, Paul, before we go, I was thinking, you mentioned the UK trip. We've delayed the UK trip this year. We're going to be coming over and doing a big event next year, and we'll keep you guys posted. But it'll be a big, 1 to 2 day, a big event, which is focused on all of this kind of stuff. We often do it half of it's personal performance, and the other half's business performance. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Perfect. Guys, for those of you that want to get in, James has got a Facebook page. It's a group page. James, do you want to just let everyone know what the name of the group is on Facebook?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So we've got Reignite Community. So Reignite, Reignite. That's the name of our brand. And we at the moment, we're expanding that. In fact, it's great timing because we're really starting to bring an interview a week in as of around next week or the week after. I mean, all different types of things, life hacking, business hacking. We really have a few key pillars that we focus on. So feel free to add yourself in there. It's completely free. Reignite community, and that'll allow you to kind of keep growing yourself. We've really, as you can see today with the 10 points, we've really identified that it's so important we bring more and more of the life and well-being side in to personal performance, so that you can ultimately sustain and retain for longer in your business as well. So there's a lot on that kind of side as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I've been in that group since we connected a few months ago. Before I finish, I just wanted to tell you guys how important that 5-point system is that James mentioned tonight. Since we started using it, the productivity within the group that we started using it with has literally gone from here to here. It's gone through the roof. And if you can do that every single day and write down every single person that you speak to, and literally keep a log of what conversations you're having on which social media platform or online, offline, the points that you're doing, but do it every single day. Even if you do it for a month at a time and take a week out, I guarantee you that you will soon start to see a difference in how your business is moving. So, James, I appreciate you first and foremost. I want to thank you for getting up so early and delivering like a first-class training tonight or tomorrow morning as we are for you. But that was absolutely outstanding. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. I will get. I think
also, sorry, I was on mute, but I encourage your team members to listen. I was writing furiously and I've missed a couple of points, so I need to watch it again. But I think this was really so powerful, and it's something I don't do. I do not track my numbers. I'm not a numbers person. My husband is, so I'll be running upstairs and telling him he's going to watch the rerun of this because he'll get it straight away. But there were so many nuggets in there, James. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate the feedback as well. And keep me posted. Just send me a message in a month's time and let me know how the tracking's going. And that's for all of you as well.
Yeah, we've had some great comments as well. Bob, thank you. That was a brilliant training. Helen, many thanks for a great call. So we've had a lot tonight, and I'll get this recording up straight afterwards. I'll get it into the group. James, I'll send you a copy of the recording as well, so you can have a look back at it. But next week, as I said, Zoe's on for next week, so make sure that you're on for that one. And then the week after, we've got Nina, and then I'm putting together September's schedule at the moment. We'll be back Monday night with our opportunity call, but for tonight and for now, that is it. Appreciate everyone jumping on. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy yourselves. James, thank you again, my friend. Have a great Friday. And
thanks, guys.
Guys again very soon. Cheers, guys.
Really appreciate it. Thanks. Take care.